Good evening and welcome to Tinkering with Heathkit. While my current ongoing larger project is showing first signs of life again, I dug out this little kit to bridge another video release interval. Again, a bit of backstory. I came across this device during some eBay browsing in June. I was looking for breadboardy and prototyping things, and having Heathkit on the search, this one stuck out immediately. It is indeed a Heathkit, model number ET-3400, a microprocessor trainer featuring the, quote, popular 6800 CPU. These single-board training kits seem to have been very popular in the early days of microprocessors. This one is from around 1977, so certainly not the first one, but as a kit, it might have been very popular with the hobbyists of the day, I guess. Compared to several others, it does come with a pretty good keypad. Better keys than most modern keyboards actually. With this one, I now have 3 such kits. The HP Microlab and the Microprocessor 1 being the other 2. So, let's have a look! The unit arrived complete, in decent condition. A bit dusty, and the IC pins are a bit tarnished, but it seems to be all there and nothing is broken. Now, these old ICs are probably rather sensitive, and the ROM might be a one of a kind by now. Better remove them before doing anything else. There are 8 screw positions, but only 2 screws are in. Somebody got lazy during the final steps of the build? The inside is pretty tidy. A transformer mounted on the bottom shell and a sectioned off area that connects to the power cord. The PCB mounted on top is the only other thing that is in here. The sectioned off area has a tie strip in it, which holds a fuse and distributes the mains line to the transformer primary. Coming from the UK, this one is already wired for 230 volts. The transformer outputs are soldered to the PCB, so it's a bit annoying to work with the 2 case halves. I'm removing the transformer first, as it only has 2 screws holding it in. Removing the PCB from the case. Oh, even more ICs under the bezel. Let's pop these out too. The buttons are a bit, non-linear. I need to fix that. The metal bracket in the middle is a heatsink for the 5-volt regulator. Surprisingly, not a 7805, but rather an LM309. The keypad is actually poking through the main PCB, and it's connected with a bunch of wires and one resistor? Apparently, the buttons themselves are soldered at odd angles. That means that I need to desolder them and resolder in proper alignment. The on-off, or rather on-standby switch is the same one that was used in the 1202 Nixie meter. This one switches the 5V as well as the plus and minus 12V supply. Removing the switch. It'll get the proper treatment. Maybe that will improve the feeling. These strange flip for slide switches have a very cheap feeling. No click anywhere. And removing all the keypad switches. Testing the lot. One turned out to be a bit on the bouncy side. I decided to use that one for the reset button. They seem to be glued shut, and since they all have nice continuity, I'll leave it at that at this time. Cleaning the PCBs. The old flux residue is rather sticky. To make sure that the keys are as straight as possible, I'm using a little stick and some clamps for the first group. The clamps don't work on the others anymore, so I'm just aligning the buttons, soldering one pin, double check, and then solder the other pin. Looks much better than before already. Of course, also recapping the power supply filter caps. There is one for the 5V rail and one each for the 12V ones. New thermal paste. For the recapping, I found appropriate replacement caps in my stash, leftovers from earlier projects. Most of the time, the rubber feet are beyond repair, but these here actually clean up okay. I'm still surprised how well this thing has held up. The switch had some rough edges. A bit of sanding took care of that. Yeah, no. It moves nice alright, but there is no haptic feedback about the switch switching. It's just mushy all across and then wobbles a bit. I'm polishing up the visible screw heads too. The inside ones will do fine with a good clean. Here's something that I found out while researching the kit. There was an upgrade, a RAM and I/O add-on board sold for it. The add-on is even more rare and fetches equally high prices these days. To connect it, the base unit comes with a 40-pin connector that is unpopulated. I kept wondering what that was, especially since there were some pins ending in empty pads. Turns out that the connector is wired up to the address bus and most of the control lines, but not with the data bus. The upgrade instructions have pictures on how to wire it up, so while I'm in here, I'll get that one done too. After connecting the ribbon cable for the data bus, I'm adding the pin header and the two other lines and one diode required. I used jumpers to keep the pin headers aligned during soldering. Looks good! And now reconnecting the combined heatsink and capacitor holder. Soldering the keyboard PCB back in was a bit fiddly, but going one wire at a time made it work out okay. Getting the spacers in place, however, was much more annoying. I didn't want them in there for the soldering though. We are getting there. Only the power wires are left. I have to double check my pictures so I don't mix up the plus-minus 12 volt wires. That could have explosive results. And while I'm at it, the second upgrade that the add-on PCB needs is a proper clock. The original was running on an RC based one. The upgrade comes with a 4 MHz crystal and a new resistor. Ouch! Hot. Oddly enough, I had several 4.44 MHz crystals in the drawer, hopefully close enough. It is supposed to go across a capacitor in place of the old capacitor. Connecting the transformer next. The wire colors are printed on the silk screen. The 12-volt regulators are socketed on the edge. Must be for better cooling. Power on smoke test. I'm using the breadboard voltage connectors to validate the power supply. Seems reasonable. Double checking the polarity on the filter caps, just in case. Adding the ICs back again. Ahem, I almost forgot about the tarnished legs. That's going to take a bit. Same for the 7-segment displays. The legs are almost completely black. Using the segment test pins to check if the LEDs are okay. For some reason though, the lamp test doesn't reset. I later found out that this is to be expected. The driver chip doesn't have a lamp test pin. These are actually combined latches and decoders, and the test pin is just connecting the clear input to ground, forcing all the segments to light up until a new value is set, which isn't happening without the program running. And the moment of truth. Power on. Okay. Reset. Yay! CPU up is the power on message to be expected. There might be an issue with the power on reset. I have to double check that later. Putting the keycaps back on. They are still not 100% perfect, but much better than before. Giving the base functionality a quick check, examining a memory location, changing a few values, and reading them back. Something is off. Occasionally the system seems to get stuck and fail with random outputs. Is the clock too fast after all? I also suspected the RAM. Memory errors would look similarly random. The system comes with a whopping 256 bytes of RAM, and there's 2 more sockets on the board for an expansion up to 512 bytes, which my unit had installed. But they were 2 different chip types. The call stack and monitor variables are in the lower bank. I swapped the 2 pairs around and now it seems to work. So I ordered a new set, just in case. And adding the case cover again. Adding a new power cord. This one has an inline switch, so I don't have to unplug it if I want to turn it off. Closing the half shells was a bit of a trying process. The modification guide neglected to mention that the lower area is held up by some plastic supports. Thankfully, my ribbon cable was just long enough to bend around them. I still need to find some screws for the 6 missing ones, and yes, I checked. These never had any screws in to begin with. The plastic is pristine. And entering a small test program. I am not familiar with the 6800, so I have to play it by the book. This here is where I ran into more problems with the stability and eventually flipped the RAM chips around. Oh, and sorry for the scope probe wires in the shot. I didn't even realize they would be visible there. Yay! Test patterns! Finally! But the first digit is a bit off. It is supposed to light up exactly 1 segment at a time. And I found that bug too. I had a typo in the program startup code. Now it works. And that's it. Another microprocessor trainer for the collection. Like with my breadboard collection, I'm still looking for others, if they come my way, preferably for any other CPU architectures. Playing with these is more fun when they aren't all for the same CPU. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time! I'm still surprised how well this thing has held up. But